Hey everybody, so I thought I would do another one of these styling considerations, future of the tree projections videos using the photo and the iPad. I really like doing this. It's helpful for me, and I thought I'll just record it and share because I'd be doing it anyway. So today I thought I would take a look at this tree that I have as a Black Locust, Pseudoacacia robinia, and it's a native species that's often treated like a weed. It grows very fast. The wood can be very hard, and I thought it has some cool flowers, has some cool foliage. I thought I would give it a try as a bonsai species, kind of along the lines of a wisteria. That's something that grows really fast and aggressive and has a compound leaf. Anyway, so I've got it pulled up here, and at the moment on the iPad, what we're looking at is what I would consider to be the back. And I think that maybe we sometimes don't necessarily clarify what that is from the get-go, or people just sort of jump in and say. A couple of the reasons why I think this is the back. Number one is that if you look at this branch here, it is, you can't really tell by the two-dimensional shape here, but it is headed away from the viewer right now. So that's one big reason. Another one that another reason I wouldn't necessarily select this as the front, which we'll talk about more here in a second, is that this section here is very, very straight, kind of distractingly so. I like the movement here. This is nice. This is nice. And then obviously there's a lot more aggressive movement around the rest. But this straightness here, I wouldn't necessarily want that. But the main reason I'm thinking is I typically want the apex, the highest point, and or a branch that's kind of doing something interesting to be coming toward the viewer, to kind of engage the viewer. And this one in particular, I think of it like a dancing locust. I want that to be dancing toward the viewer and engaging. So I'm going to pop out and take a look at another view of the tree. So this is maybe closer to what we would consider a traditional front, and certainly it's square. Like the container here is square to the viewer. I mean, this doesn't matter. These are development containers, but as we're thinking through it, just start from this point and make adjustments. So later on, you can go back and look at the picture that you decided on. Okay, this is the front, and you can orient to the container, and you can then choose your potting angle when you put it in a different container. A couple of the things that I really like about this is the opposite of what I was just saying about the other one. This branch here is now coming toward the viewer. It's actually coming toward the viewer pretty substantially. You can't necessarily tell from the picture. I don't necessarily love the same thing that I was kind of critical of before, is that this feels straight, and in particular, it's not exactly vertical, but it's approaching being this vertical piece. This here is relatively straight as well, which I'm not a huge fan of. And so again, I think we can do just a little bit better than that. So I'm going to pop back over here, and I'm going to go to a little bit of a different angle. And so this is just taking that same view that we were just looking at and ever so slightly rotating it this way. So there's a wedge down under the left-hand corner of the baskets, which you can't see here. But so the things I like about this is that once we would put it in a bonsai pot, if this was going to be the planting angle, if the top of the pot is around here, let's say, now this line's coming out distinctly not vertical. I have to probably play around with it because this is pretty vertical, but a lot of this front selection at this point is just preliminary, and it's just to get a general ballpark of where things are going to end up. The odds of nailing the planting angle and everything the very first time, or moving it out of this into a bonsai pot, and it's just not very good. But you can make some educated decisions based on picking an approximate front. To that, or along those lines, you saw that I drew this line down here. One of the things that, if you have not done this before, when you go and transfer, this is in like a development mix. It's in something, it's a looser version of like what they use in the nursery business. It's like a potting soil kind of. In general, when you take a tree out of the ground or out of a development mix potting soil where it hasn't been overly prepared for bonsai cultivation, the visible structural roots that we use in bonsai are almost always initially underneath the surface of that soil. So in other words, you're going to drop the soil line down several inches probably in a case of a large tree to expose that nabari, to expose that surface root flare. And so that's another aspect of why selecting a front at this point is tricky. It's because, if we talk about the Mirai stuff of base movement and features, at this point it's kind of hard to know exactly what the base looks like. So we're going to do our best that we can based on movement and features and just general vibe. But so one of the things I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and do the draw in a bonsai pot that's kind of along the lines of what maybe we might expect to see down the line. So I'll start here by getting rid of our trusty pond basket. And to the point that I was making before, I'm going to draw in some idealized nabari here for us as well. To hopefully see how we're gonna imagine what we're gonna end up as. So I think I have maybe like kind of a what color pot do we want to do? Maybe something in like a cream kind of. Maybe we'll just do kind of like a gray blue like I did last time. Pretty common color of pot. So I'm going to draw this guy. Whoops, I do this every time. Switch over to my pencil. I'm going to draw in something like a circular pot, something like this. And we're going to extend our nabari, our tree line here, to be something, kind of like this, maybe. Again, this is all just for imagination's sake. And so I think as we develop this tree, part of the question will be how far down do we want to take these branches? Do we want them to extend even further down? Do we want to take and turn them in this way, further out? Do we want to maybe think about bringing this, get rid of, let's see here. I'm trying to talk and draw at the same time. Maybe we get rid of all this here and actually turn this branch back across. Maybe we somehow engage there. I think there is potential for exploring something in a traditional literati style where we actually get rid of, so let's undo that, and we get rid of all of these branches here, everything all the way out to the tip. Get rid of this too. That's an example where, and then we're gonna have some. Let's see here. And then we'll have these, cascading foliage all through here. It's going to come kind of out in, it comes out in spikes and with leaves and all that kind of fun stuff. And they also have these nice dangling white flowers. So that's an option too. To think of it as a literati, traditional literati style. I don't know if I'll necessarily do that, but it could be very cool. It's certainly in the spirit of this type of tree, in the sense that it's long and slender. You know, there are maybe some compelling reasons to, let's see here. Let's just go ahead and let's start a new layer and turn this layer off. So we'll go back to the original plan. There might be a compelling reason to consider doing something like, let's just give up on the literati design as we have it now. Let's cut all this off, all this work and time. That's not that much work or time. Get rid of all this and actually, you know, cut back to there. And then have this, the general movement of the tree be moving toward this way. And then you could even then think about bringing this branch down and having it cascade outward. You know, our time and energy is mostly spent on developing the main part of the trunk. The rest of it grows relatively quickly. So if we get rid of all the changes we just made, just for what it's worth, I think let's see here. I think when I bought it, it was approximately this tall, give or take. And I bent it some here, and it actually broke around here, and I put some parafilm on it. And it healed up great. And then I think a lot of this was actually all this year's growth. So like I said, it grows really, really quickly. It certainly was not nearly as thick as it is now when I got it. But I say that mainly just to say we sometimes fall in love with these outer branches and do all this cool, fun stuff because they're young and able to be bent. But I don't know necessarily what I'm going to do in the long term with this design. And I don't know how thick I want the trunk to get. So if you all have thoughts, please share them in the comments, because I'm all ears on different ideas and different approaches. I also think, for what it's worth, that the overall tree will probably be rotated clockwise for the front as well. I didn't capture that in the picture because I was just trying to get a sense. But that planting angle and potting angle is really difficult to anticipate until you're actually pulling the plant out and getting ready to put it into a new pot in a different context. So I probably will be potting this into a bigger development container this year, because I do think I want it to get bigger as I'm figuring out how I want it to look. And so when I do that, I'll treat the roots to try and develop that nabari in an intentional way, with this somewhere in this range being the front. So I hope that this stuff's fun. And please do, if you have ideas about what to do, whether, chop off the top or start over or continue with the cascading dancing design, whatever you think, please share. And I can't guarantee that I'll go the same direction that you would, but maybe it gives you an idea to get a locust and give it this type of stuff a try. It's really nice because compared to some of the other species that grow really slowly, this one growing fast, it's kind of instant gratification. Maybe not instant, but for bonsai, it's about as close to instant as you get. So take care, and I'll see you in the next video.